What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you guys through my very own team selection for the upcoming Game Week 8. So a lot to talk about in terms of Game Week 8. Should I wildcard? Should I not? But before that, I'll be going over a team review of how my squad got on in Game Week 7. Now that'll be a kind of a very quick review. The sooner we do it, the better, as it wasn't the best game week, and we can focus on all that Game Week 8 goodness. So if you guys are interested to see if my team is on a wild card or not, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So quick review of Game Week 7, or double Game Week 7, should I say. I didn't own any double Game Week players, but if you guys did own Morris and captain him, it was going to be a massive game week for yourself. Now unfortunately, 41 points was the total amount of points we ended Game Week 7 on, and I was going to see a Game Week rank of 6.9 million. So quite a big red arrow, unfortunately, to the 1.8 million mark. Not the end of the world though, still very early on this Premier League season, and I've managed to recover from worse ranks. Now we do have one transfer and 1.6 million left in the bank, so a little bit of an upgrade can be made if need be. So before we get into my actual starting 11 and my bench, how did your guys' game week go? Was it a great game week? Was it a bad game week? And let me know if you guys owned Ollie Watkins, as you probably got a nice green arrow then. So let's start off with the team that got me 41 points, but the players that didn't attribute to that, and that's going to be the bench. And as you guys can see, nothing much happened except for a massive 9-pointer from Johnston. So yes, the game week that we actually benched our number one goalkeeper, he ends up getting a clean sheet and some bonus points against Rashford and Bruno, which I wasn't really anticipating. So no hard feelings there, Johnston. 100% get, I actually benched you. I was just playing the odds and hoping that United actually scored because I own more of their attackers. But luckily, besides Johnston, we had Archer, Odogie, and Baldock doing not much. Baldock still carrying that injury. Hopefully he returns quite soon. Now I didn't get those kind of Johnston points because I started Matt Turner. He got 3 points for Nottingham Forest. Not the best kind of performance. Thought that he could have got a clean sheet. But I guess that is how it is sometimes. But can't really say much as I chose to start Turner over Johnston. But would have liked if this was the week that he actually got rotated. And then I would have got a nice jammy 9 points. Then moving on to the defensive department, I've got 2 Newcastle defenders, Trippier and Botman. Trippier, the new signing, enters our team, gets a massive 12 points. That's highly appreciated. Botman, on the other hand, there was a little bit of fake news saying that he was going to start the game, ends up being out for about a month's time, but he might be back after the international break for Game Week 9. So obviously with Botman, we'll be getting a Odogie for his 1-point appearance off the bench, and that's already been included in the score. Included in the score as well was me the minus points. So yes, Stupinan got a -2 in double Game Week 7. Now he's injured for a month or 2 months. So he's actually going through the most at the moment. I guess our FPL team is also going through the most with those minus points. But as you guys will know, Brighton had an absolute shock against Aston Villa in the game week. Now that kind of subbing at halftime makes more sense now if he was going to be injured. But we haven't had much clarity from De Zerbi on this fact. Then I'm going to move into our midfield department, and the kind of bad news continued, especially on Monday night. If you guys watched the transfer plan, I was hyping up Raheem Sterling. I said, Raheem, this is the kind of the game week to save us. Even though in the previous game weeks we've been asking him to save us, he hasn't done that. That trend continued, unfortunately, in Game Week 7. So I don't really know what's with me and kind of getting these players that are benched, then come off the bench, get a yellow card. But Raheem Sterling did that and ended on 0 points. And I guess it might be a little bit unlucky that he caught a virus, didn't train with the squad for the previous 3 days. But I really would have loved for him to start this Fulham game. But the rest was history, all that hype for a nice 0 points, and the rest of our midfield didn't do too much. So Mbeumo, Rashford and Bruno all ended up blanking, really needed them to actually get me some returns, as the faith is simply not paying off. At least with Bukayo Saka, the only yellow flag player in our starting 11, he ended up starting the game against Bournemouth, got an attacking return, but also gave away 2 penalties. So someone in my comments actually mentioned that maybe in Saka's FPL team he owns Havertz and Odegaard. That makes perfect sense when I think about it, but really would have loved if he took those 2 penalties. That wasn't the case though, and I guess 9 points isn't the worst in the world, but he does have a few injury concerns for Game Week 8. And in terms of forward department, I captained the wrong Man City forward, went for Erling Haaland for his 2-pointer double to 4, whereas Alvarez got a nice 8-pointer. So if you guys have watched the Alvarez goal, it was a very nicely taken free kick, and his form is just outstanding at the current moment. But this was a massive upset in my opinion. I expected Man City to put a few past Wolves, but Wolves ended up winning this game 2-1. So that game, amongst the other kind of upsets, the United one, Mbeumo also blanking, Sterling not playing. Now you guys can understand why I only ended on 41 points. Hopefully you guys ended on more points. Let me know in the comments down below how many points did you guys end on, and where you're sitting in the overall ranks. Now before we actually talk about my team selection, I've already confirmed a move. I mentioned this in my transfer plan video on Monday, but I actually have done Saka to Heung-min Son. So the reason I did this move was that Saka had his injury concern on the weekend. He also was going to drop in price. Son was rising in price. So yes, I was a little bit baited by the price rises. So this move was confirmed on the weekend, and luckily just before recording this video, Spurs dropped a picture of Son in training, so it looks like we're going to be good for him to start on the weekend. I just thought to myself, I was going to do this move anyway. It was part of the plan. Saka against Man City, Chelsea didn't really favour him, and I wanted to captain Son anyways for the upcoming game week. So yes, this move has been confirmed. I'm not saying that Saka's a bad option. He still could be fine for the upcoming week, but he did come off injured in the Champions League game on Tuesday. So I just want to give you guys the context, and I'll be talking about my other moves at the end of the video. So let's now go over my actual starting 11 for Game Week 8. This is in the final team. I might make a few more hits. I've already used one free transfer. As you guys can see, 0 transfers and 1 million left in the bank. So use that extra kind of 0.6 to upgrade to Heung-min Son. Now this is my current team selection with no wildcard activated, as I currently am not on the chip. Now at the end of this team selection, I want you guys to comment down below, do you think that I should wildcard or do you think I can manage to save it? And then I'll talk about my transfer plan, which might be a -8. So I'm going to start off the team selection as I usually do. Let's go over the bench. The bench pretty much kind of picks itself this week. The only one that might feature is going to be Archer, as he has Fulham away. The only thing holding me back though is that Sheffield United are kind of lowest in terms of XG non-penalty, XG as a whole, and therefore they might not even do much against a poor Fulham side. But in terms of the kind of goalkeeper wars, it's turnovers Johnston this week. I'm going to play the home fixture. I'm going to play Johnston. Crystal Palace have been decent, and I'm tired of this rotation kind of curse. Otherwise, Botman's currently injured, Baldock injured as well. However, I will be waiting for news on Baldock, as I really would appreciate if he's going to be back. So as mentioned, Johnson between the sticks. Let's go over our defensive department. Going to start Trippier against West Ham away. Tougher fixture on paper. Will he even start after the Champions League heroics? I think that Eddie Howe will look to continue this good run. So I'm fine playing Trippier at the current moment. Yes, it's a tougher game, but his attacking threat is so good, and the Newcastle defense has been rock solid. Then the rest of the lineup, we got Udogie against Luton away. Brought him in for this fixture. It's going to be a great one on the cards. And that Spurs backline has looked pretty nailed. So I do actually think he has a chance of some attacking threat and some defensive threat. So I do really like Udogie in this fixture. I might even double up on that Spurs defense. You guys will see that soon. Then lastly, we have a Stupinan against Liverpool at home, but you guys don't have to worry about that fixture. His Stupinan will probably be missing Game Week 8, as he looks to be on the recovery for about a month. So yes, at the current moment, I only have 2 fit defenders, and I want you guys are probably thinking, you're already typing that you should wildcard in the comments down below, but I'm actually looking to take a hit for a Stupinan this game week. Then let's move on to the midfield department. I'm going to start off with the man in the middle, as I always say, in Mbumo, and he faces United away. Now at the start of the season, probably would have said this fixture looks quite tough, but on the current form, United are simply terrible, and Brentford usually pick up their game against the better teams. So I'm fine keeping Mbumo. Yes, he hasn't been great over these past few games, but at the end of the day, not a major fire that I have to put out. Talking about kind of major fires though, Sterling has the potential to be a massive one, as if he looks like he won't start Burnley, I might be forced into using the chip. So at the current moment, I'm expecting Sterling to face this game. This might be an easy one on paper. Burnley aren't the greatest defense, and Chelsea against Fulham seem to have found their mojo a bit. But just fingers crossed that he starts this game. As mentioned, they won without him in Game Week 7, so maybe Pochettino keeps that same squad. Then moving on to our actual captain for this week, it's going to be Heung-min Son, the new signing. As mentioned, I've already done Saka to Son for Game Week 8, and it seems like he'll be fit for the weekend. So all I want is that Son plays the majority of minutes. I think that he's going to get a massive amount of points if he does feature, and that Spurs attack has looked pretty decent. So fingers crossed that he'll be fine for the weekend, but just wait for that press conference tomorrow from the Spurs manager, as usually is quite transparent. Then the last 2 midfielders are going to be Bruno and Rashford from United against Brentford at home. This fixture on paper isn't that bad. Brentford's defense hasn't been too strong, but United have been overall terrible. So literally the wildcard decision, if I don't choose to use the wildcard, if United don't get me points, it's going to look like a terrible decision, but I guess at least they have Sheffield United the week after. But this midfield department really needs to bang this game week. I know I'm clutching at straws there. They've been simply terrible for the past few game weeks. But if they don't, I'm going to look like an absolute amateur for not wildcarding. At least our 2 strikers are slightly more kind of controlled. Any Man City player usually does perform, but this will be a massively tough one for Haaland and Alvarez. So they are facing Arsenal away in great form at the current moment. Man City coming off a loss to Wolves, but a win in the Champions League. So I'm just hoping for goals in this one. So in terms of the 2 strikers, yes, Alvarez is no Ollie Watkins, but Ollie Watkins isn't no Alvarez. So let's hope that he outperforms the Aston Villa striker. So as you guys can see, in terms of the striker department, not much complaints there. In terms of the midfield department, some big complaints, but they might be subjective, as United have 2 nice fixtures coming up. Now in terms of the defense, Trippier and Udogie, no worries there, but a Stupinan, I'll have to use the transfer, as I currently don't have 3 fit defenders. The one thing I also like about Johnston is a lot of people are kind of going on a wild card for a Gay and Anderson. At least I already own a Crystal Palace defender. But yes, the big question obviously is, do you think I should wildcard in Game Week 8? I think I'm probably one player off wildcarding. If maybe Son was injured or Sterling was going to be missing, I think I might have to activate the chip just to field 11 players. But you guys let me know your thoughts. I think the majority of you will probably say wildcard, but there might be those of you out there that have the same thinking as me. I think we could get by with this team for the next 2 game weeks and then look at a Game Week 10 wildcard as the soonest. But now let's go over my transfer plan or my additional transfer plan. As you guys know, I've already done one free transfer, so all these transfers will be for a hit. So at the current moment, I'm looking to actually use a transfer on my defense. As mentioned, I only have 2 fit defenders at the current moment in Udogie and Trippier. So the 2 players I could potentially take out are going to be Botman and Estupiñán. Both these 2 options I think are viable to transfer out, and the options I'm looking to bring in I can afford for both. So as you guys know, Estupiñán is currently 5.1 million in my team, Botman is about 4.6, but the players I bring in, I can afford both of those transfers. So only thing about Estupiñán is I definitely will want him by Game Week 10, but I guess we don't exactly know when he's going to be returning. De Zerbi said a month, it could be 2 months, but I guess the same as with Eddie Howe and Botman. So the current timeline on Botman is that he should be back for about Game Week 9, Game Week 10, but I do prefer the Brighton fixtures from Game Week 10 onwards. So what I think I might do at the current moment is probably take out Estupiñán. I think because of his higher ownership, if he's going to be missing for about a month, he will have a few price drops. Then if we wildcard in Game Week 10, we can always buy him cheaper. But for the time being, I'm just going to show Botman as the transfer out because he is the cheaper option, and I want to show you guys that I can afford both the moves. So in terms of my transfer plan for Botman, I think there's kind of 2 combinations I could look at. There's one combination, if I definitely want a wildcard in Game Week 10, I think that Pedro Porro is the best replacement, as I do really like his next 2 fixtures. So as you guys can see, Luton away, Fulham at home are some of the best fixtures on the cards. So if I do choose to wildcard in Game Week 10, I'm almost locked into going for Pedro Porro. But if I do choose to kind of maybe take a wild card late in the season, maybe around Game Week 18, Game Week 19, I do believe Matty Cash is the better medium-term hold. Now you guys can see the next 2 fixtures, it's Wolves away and West Ham at home. Now you guys can understand why I preferred Pedro Porro for the short term, but Matty Cash and Aston Villa have the better medium-term fixtures. So at the current moment, I'm kind of contemplating if I choose not to wildcard Game Week 8, am I locked into Game Week 10 or can I postpone it? But I'm just waiting on news on Dayvy because if he's going to be missing, maybe Matty Cash plays high up the pitch. So you guys have to know is that Pedro Porro will rise in price tonight, but I think at the current moment, I probably will wait for team news tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to lock in this transfer tonight, as I can afford a price drop on Estupiñán still. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are on these 2 transfers. Do you think that I should go for Matty Cash, or do you think that Pedro Porro is the better option? I'm just going to wait for press conference news tomorrow, and then probably confirm in the deadline stream. Otherwise, other moves I'm also looking to make, these could be from -8. If we get news that Sterling might be out, then I could make a switch from Maddison, for example. But I don't exactly know if I'm too fond of taking another -4. So those are my current transfer plans. I think this move is probably nailed in for a defensive transfer. Then obviously the Son to Saka move has already been done. Let me know what your transfer plans are in the comments down below. Otherwise, if you guys are on the wildcard, what's your latest wildcard draft looking like? But this is basically going to wrap the video, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. I'll be seeing you guys maybe for a wildcard draft tomorrow. Otherwise, in the deadline stream, coming up 1 hour before the deadline. But I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.